Good morning YouTube family. I am greeting you today from this cold London day. On this beautiful cold London day, it's so pretty outside, but it is freezing. As you can see, it's snowing, and I really wanted to stay in my house, but I decided to come out and brave the wilderness. So I wanted to come on and share with you guys this morning more about my life with trees. So as you got, a lot of you have seen and have asked for more tree content, and so I've been excited to get out here and share with you not just more tree content, but the tree behind, which is my favorite tree. I call her Mama Tree. Her and the tree that is in one of the back gardens next to mine is really where I started my tree journey. So that video that you recently saw, that was actually recorded a few months ago, in the summer last year. And at that time, it was quite early on in my experience with trees, and now I have had a lot a lot take place. I'll put it like this: my relationships with trees has deepened greatly since then. It's an exciting time. I really want to share with you guys a little bit more about how I started connecting with trees like this, and why. So last year I started to get a lot more deeper into my spiritual practices, and one of the most important techniques that I was getting into was grounding. And I know this is a basic spiritual technique. A lot of you who are part of the spiritual community will be familiar with various techniques to help you become more grounded. And becoming more grounded is a lot about your connection with the earth, with Mother Earth, with Gaia, and in knowing that as much as we're spiritual beings having a human experience, it kind of doesn't mean much to be spiritual if you cannot bring that down to earth. It has to come onto earth. You need to manifest things on earth. You need to be able to do your work on earth. And, you know, I had spent a lot of years being very up in the clouds and in this spiritual vibes, but really struggling to make that into my concrete reality and create the life that I really wanted to create. And so grounding became, I would say, one of my number one healing techniques on my spiritual journey that helped me stay evenly yoked, but also receive a lot of psychic impressions from Mother Earth. And that's key. The psychic impressions from Mother Earth are key, because one of the things that my teacher taught me is that, majority of the impressions that we're getting are not actually coming from above. They are actually coming from within the earth. So the more deeper I connected to the earth, the stronger my psychic abilities. And when I say psychic abilities, I mean my hidden senses. And I can break that down for you even a bit more. By hidden senses, I am referring to like the 5 clairs. We have Clairsentience, which is the feeling; Clairaudience, which is the clear hearing; Clairvoyance, which is the clear seeing; Claircognience, I believe, which is the knowing, just the immense knowing of something. You just know it, that you've never learned, that no one's told you, and all of a sudden you just know something. And there's the one with the taste. I can't remember what that one's called, but there's a taste one, and I'm missing something out. But this video is not about that. I'm brushing over that to say, part of my journey as a priestess, I've been through a priestesshood with Miss Bulu, the Soulful Oracle, many years ago, and I have been along a whole journey with understanding my work here as a starseed, the things that I've come to do and how I've come to do it. And part of that is understanding the skills that I have. And when I say your hidden senses, we all have access to our hidden senses. It's nothing spectacular just for me, but we're all spiritual beings here on earth. And so we all have access. We all have access to those abilities, but we will find that some of us have a natural like inclination to use some more than others, and some become stronger than others. And so I would say along my journey, the one that came up most natural to me was Clairsentience. That is my longest like knowing and understanding Claire, where long years before I had any other senses, I would just be able to feel things. I can walk into a room and I can feel the vibe in the room. I can feel what people are feeling. You know, people who are highly empathetic will be familiar with this as well. I could feel what people were feeling to the state that I would also transfer. So I had a lot of issues with absorbing people's feelings, emotions, energy, people's stuff, and that's the empathy thing. All of you who are empaths will be familiar with that journey. Um, but yeah, but feeling was always my strongest thing. So I could just always feel things. I just knew um, what was going on by tempering my sensation with feeling. But as I started to get more into my work and really dig deep and do a lot more work on myself, the other clairs started to become a lot stronger. As an artist, the first one was the clairvoyance, which would come out in my art processes a lot when I was making costumes or doing my drawing work and stuff. I would get visions, I would see things, and then I would have these dreams as well. I'd get a lot of stuff come through in dreams, prophetic dreams, where I would see things before they started happening and stuff like that. And slowly the others started to come online. Clairaudience, the hearing one is the one which was one of my most challenging clairs at first, because I wasn't in a good spiritual space when that first came online, and so it was kind of disturbing and distorting. I would get different pick up and hear different things. You know, there's spirits and entities and elementals and all kinds of things. So that was a lot. And I'll do another vlog where I'll talk more about that type of stuff. So that was a whole journey. But the most beautiful thing that's come out of it is the ability to communicate with my ancestors. And then that is my ancestors, and ancestor work is one of my favorite topics. I'll be talking to you guys a lot more about that. I love, 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 love working with my ancestors. I feel like they are one of the most important parts of your galactic team. Your whole galactic team is important. Your guides, you know, you have angels. We have so many different things that make up your galactic team that are always there to guide you in this journey. Guys, you are never alone. Know that you are never alone. You have a whole team that has been guiding you since you got here, you know. And they change it up. They change up. They're not always consistent, not always the same. But they are many who has been here since the day dot, you know. And your ancestors is going to be one of those, because your ancestors are your ancestors, and that is that, right? So working with my ancestors has been, oh my God, I have a dog here who is drawn to my vibe. Look, let me show. Oh, hello. You like the energy? How are you? And he's off with his darling. Anyway, so back to the story. Yes, so one of the most beautiful things that came out of that was working with my ancestors. And my mother passed away in recent years, and so I have a very close bond with her on the other side. Also my grandmother, I have an aunt, and I had a good friend that passed over. He was the start of my process of working with ancestors. Once I was able to I see them, I can always, like I said, Clairsentience was my strongest clair. So I could always feel them. I feel when they're in the room, I feel when they're around me. I felt when they would hug me and they would hold me when I was crying and struggling with the grief process. And then that led to me being able to see them at times, which is one that I'm able to switch that one off, because I can still get a bit freaked out. I'm like, I don't really want to see you standing at the end of the room. I don't sometimes, no. But if I want to, I can. But the Clairaudience is the darling because you hear them. And for anyone who's lost their mother, like me, you know what a dream that is to hear their voice. So I get to speak to my mom. I am so blessed to have that as one of my clairs that I'm able to work with whenever I want to. I'm so grateful for this. I see it as a gift, though it is a gift that we all have access to. It's not a unique gift, but I feel blessed to have mine online. And one of the reasons why I'm talking to you about working with my mother is because she became one of my number one guides and translators. So when I was experiencing certain things spiritually, I could be able to ask her, "Mom, what's that? What is that? It feels like this. What is it?" And so she helped me get a stronger understanding of how everything works, the earth realms, all the different elements, and the things that was happening to me and around me. And so she's been an amazing teacher. My mother has been an amazing teacher from the other side, and I have learned so much through her. And so I'm saying all of this to say this is also what formed part of my tree journey, because on my ground, when I was getting into my grounding practices and really like working hard at yoking into the earth, there's a grounding practice in particular that my teacher taught us. It's a technique that I've also seen in some other places, where you literally dig your roots into the ground. Anyone who understands grounding has probably heard of this technique. You energetically dig your roots into the ground, and you can also pull energy from the earth. And as I was doing it, sometimes it can be, when you're starting that, it can be a bit weird because you're visualizing it. You're visualizing it and you're like, is anything happening? I had started to get this fascination for trees, just in sense of, I'd had it for some years where I'd just be amazed. I used to look at them and just think that they were these huge green giants that were literally just like standing over us, watching at all times, right? And we're just walking around and acting like we can't see them. And I'm like, y'all don't see those giants? They like, hello. like I always had that thing about trees, that I always thought like I could feel that they've got this personality, this vibe. They've all got different vibes, right? But I can't speak to them at that time. But I'm just knowing that there's more. I know that there is souls in there. And so when I was doing the grounding techniques now, and really trying to plug in and get deeper in my connection with the earth, at that point I started to connect to one of the trees that was in the garden, two gardens down from mine, and I could see it from my bedroom window. And I was like, this tree is beautiful. Big. I'm gonna show you a picture of him, big and beautiful. And by the way, when I refer to trees by gender, I'm not necessarily referring to the biological gender, but the gender of the soul. And they are really androgynous, but they tend to represent a certain energy a bit more than others most of the time. So he's a hazelnut tree, and I found out he's probably around my age, which is interesting. So I started connecting with him, and I would just look out my window, look, energetically sort of speak to him, say hi, wave. I can't touch him because he's in a neighbor's garden, neighbors that I'm not connected to. And I would just look at him and send energy. And the more I did that, the more in my clairvoyance, I would sometimes, now when I close my eyes and meditate, connect with him while I'm meditating, and I would see him. And then the key point was when I started grounding and connecting to him as I was grounding. And I said, can you help me? Can you show me how to ground? And literally I felt like the roots coming out of my feet stronger than ever. I felt them going and connecting, and so this was amazing. Then I have a baby tree in my garden as well, and when I understood, when I started to get more into finding out the types of trees, I realized, oh, He is also a hazelnut. He's a baby hazelnut. So the two hazelnut trees, and he's a wild hazelnut because we did not plant him. He chose, which is another thing I'll talk about in future. Wild trees, woo! So so I'd hold, literally like energetically hold both their hands and ground. That was the start of me really starting to talk to trees. And most of it would come through the clairvoyance, where I would see them guiding my roots, see them showing me things. And then after that, that led to me now going back and visiting trees that were always my favorite trees in my meditation times over the years, but before I could actually speak to them in that way. And then I would hold them and communicate in the way that I was with the ones that I was grounding with. And sometimes I would get my mom to help me translate in what she was hearing and what I feel that they were saying. And that helped to strengthen me understanding the tree language. And this is still a process for me. I'm learning a lot more about it every day. You know, it's getting stronger and stronger. And I hope at some point I'll be able to just Clairaudience hear them. Because at the moment I don't hear them in a Clairaudience, but I can see what they're showing me, and I can feel what they're saying. And so yeah. It's a beautiful journey. I'm so blessed to be able to share it with you, and I really want to show you my mama tree. So she's a Holm Oak. She's a Holm Oak, and let me a bit of her. She has a beautiful canopy, which you've been seeing in my background. Beautiful canopy. This is her trunk. Oh, she is so beautiful. And as I started to research Holm Oaks, she's also interconnected with these other two trees. And she literally, she is like one of the most magical looking trees in this in this park. Like, you see her from the street when you're driving past, and she just looks like a huge floating afro. It's just like, sometimes I used to look at her and think, she doesn't even look real. Like, is she real? You know, and digging into research about Holm Oaks, I learned so much more about her, because she's an evergreen tree, and evergreen trees have this protective, persistent quality. She's gorgeous. She's absolutely beautiful. I'm gonna come out here so I can show you more. Look at the snow. My gosh. But yeah, so I started to learn a lot more about oaks, oak spirituality, the history of oaks. And I went down a whole oak pathway before I started to understand that she was a Holm Oak, which is an evergreen oak, and they differ slightly. So the information that I got, look at her crown. Is she not gorgeous? Is she not gorgeous? I'm telling you, there's no other tree like her in this park. Like, she's a standout. And so yeah, one of the things I learned that I found so fascinating is that she has so she obviously is from the natively to the Mediterranean, Spanish, North Africa, Italy, those kind of areas. And in those spaces, she was revered for her protective qualities, which one of the things I found most interesting was in the Berber tradition of them finding her as an ancestor tree, and a tree that housed ancestors, guidance spirits, and things like that. So I'm still learning a lot more about her. But, you know, I did tell her that I heard that you natively come from somewhere a lot warmer. And, you know, trees, obviously, they house so much fascinating history and information. One, because, you know, a lot of them are all old, so they've been here and they've seen. But because they dig deep into the ground, they have access to all of the root networks that came before them, all of the information that is stored, is passed on generationally. So they can tell you the stories from the beginning of time. Like, that is how magical they are, you know. And so when I'm asking her about the history of her species, she's able to confirm, yes, you know, she came from a much warmer climate. And I'm like, how'd it feel to be here? in the snow. So when I came out today, what I noticed is that she had retreated slightly. It was like, I was like, how do you feel when it's cold like this? But when I approached her, I could feel that she had retreated inwards a bit, so that maybe she goes in a bit when the temperature is a certain way. Because obviously, just like us, this is what I love about trees. Trees and humans are so similar. I feel like we are the most alike on the planet, because they are literally the same way we are spirits having a human experience. They are spirit souls having a tree experience. It's like so similar. We are housed in this flesh, physical matter, and they are housed in this wood matter, right? And then we have this, what do we call, like a symbiotic relationship, where we breathe in what they breathe out, and they breathe in what we breathe out, right? Am I saying that right? Right, because we breathe in oxygen, which they exude, right? And they take in the carbon dioxide, which we express, right? So that symbiotic relationship is so special. So this is why I think having a relationship with trees is one of the most important things you can do for your journey, for your spiritual journey, for your life here on earth. And everyone will be able to find a tree that resonates with them, that connects with them. Like I say, they have all different types of personalities, all different ages, and different trees will connect to different people in different ways. You know what I mean? Like, I was walking down the street one day and there was a tree that was like, hey, hi, because I was talking to one of the other trees, and I was like, I went up to it and then I touched it. Now, I wasn't in a good place that day. He was like, whoa, your energy is I don't know. Maybe another day. And I'm just saying that to say how amazing it is, because they're just like people. Some days you're in the mood, some days you're not. 1 minute you think you are, and then you're like, actually, I don't like that. I don't want that. You know what I mean? There's so much like that. I have another tree on the other side of this park, which I call the grandfather tree, and he is miserable. Love him to bits, and I definitely think my relationship with him is been good for him and me both, because at first he was not talking to me. He didn't want to talk to me at all. He was like, get away. And how I worked this out is, one day I went and I was like, can I touch you? This is when I was new to it and not understanding that it's better to ask them first. So I hadn't actually asked him if I could touch him. And I was just like, can I touch you? And he didn't know what he said. I just went up to him and I started putting my hands. And as I put my hands on his bark, all of these like little moth-like things just started flying. And I was like, whoa. And that was him saying, back off. I said, don't touch me. So I was like, okay, my bad. So I learned a lot. I've learned a lot about different tree vibes and energies, especially through him. And he's gonna liking to me now. He's still kind of standoffish. He's still like, but he appreciates me. He know I'm talking about him right now. He appreciates me when I show up and I'm like, hi. I usually say hi from a distance. Every now and then he let me touch. But yeah, so I hope you guys have received this message loud and clear and well. I hope you've enjoyed hearing. I have so much more to share with you. Stay tuned, like, subscribe, share, and I'll be back with more. See you soon.